All right, we're doing another Gita comparative analysis of translations. We're on chapter 13 again, 13:13 or 13:12, depending on which version. Some people have it as 13:12, chapter 13, verse 12. Others have it as chapter 13, verse 13. We're gonna go through 18 translations once again. This verse, I'm going to read it in Sanskrit. Then I will read my translation, and then we'll go through some translations, some other translations, and we'll try to see, what the issue is in the translations. There's always at least one thing that's a little bit difficult, to translate. So, jñeyaṁ yatat pravakṣhyāmi jñātvāmṛitam aśhnute anādi mat-param Brahma nāsad uchyate. All right. I will declare that which is to be known. Jñeya yatat pravakṣhyāmi. Pravakṣhyāmi is like I will declare. Jñeya is what is to be known, and yatat is that which is to be known, right? Jñeya is the object of knowledge or to be known, knowing which one attains immortality. So jñātva is knowing which, amrita, aśhnute. Aśnute is generally like attains, one attains or he achieves, he reaches immortality. I translate it as one attains immortality. Amrita is immortality. Amrit is where we get mortality, mortal or mortality. Amrit means not mortal or immortal. So one achieves or attains immortality. The beginningless, anādimat, supreme Brahman, Brahma. Now, before we go on, you're going to see this is an issue, because is it anādimat or is it anādi mat-param Brahma? If it's mat-param Brahma, then the translation will be different, and we'll see how some people translate this differently. Which is neither being nāsad nor non-being nāsad. So this is how I translate it. I'm going to read my English once again. I will declare that which is to be known, knowing which one attains immortality, the beginningless supreme Brahman, which is neither being nor non-being. Okay, I will declare that which is to be known, knowing which one attains immortality, amrita, the beginningless, anādimat, supreme Brahman, Brahma, which is neither being nāsad nor non-being nāsad. Sat is what is true, or what is real, or what is has existence, has beingness, and asat is not true, not real, not existent, has no beingness. All right, moving on. Let's go to Winthrop Sargent. So I used Winthrop Sargent's translation mainly when I did my own translation, because I think his is probably the best, or closest to the literal meaning of the words, which is not necessarily the best, but it's closest to the literal, and that was what I was looking for. So I shall declare, he says shall versus will. I say I will declare. He has I shall declare that which has to be known, knowing which one attains immortality. So he has to be known. I had is to be known. I don't know why he has to be known there, but all right, we'll go with that. I shall declare that which has to be known, knowing which one attains immortality. It is the beginningless supreme Brahman, which is said to be neither existent nor non-existent. So the beginningless supreme Brahman is the same as what I have. It is neither existent nor non-existent. I had neither is said to be neither being nor non-being. I'll have to rethink that because maybe existent would be better here. But you'll see that some people have existence, some people have being for sat. So, all right. Now, what's the meaning of, before we go on, what's the meaning of this? Krishna is saying to Arjuna, I'm going to tell you now that which is to be known, right? What is, because Arjuna, that's how this chapter began, with the known, the knower, the known, the object of knowledge. So Krishna is saying, I'm going to tell you what is to be known. And if you know this, you attain immortality. And it is the beginningless supreme Brahman, anādimat is beginningless, which is said to be uchyate, said to be neither being, nāsad, nor non-being, asat. So this Brahman, this supreme Brahman, if that's how you translate it, I'm not sure, because again, it could be anādimat, or it could be anādi, mat-param. Although the Sanskrit anādimat param, yeah, it could be both, actually. Could be both. So how do you translate this? That this is the core issue maybe of this verse. All right, Bhagavad Gita.io says, I will declare that which is to be known, knowing which one attains immortality. It's basically the same as what I had. The beginningless supreme Brahman, same, which is neither being nor non-being. It's almost exactly the same as what I had, or I have. Now we have Swami Dayananda Saraswati. What is to be known that I will tell clearly, knowing which one gains deathlessness, that Brahman, which it is said has no beginning, is limitless, neither existent nor non-existent. So he adds limitless here. That's an addition. Maybe he's trying to... Okay, so he translates param as limitless. All right. And he translates amrita as deathlessness. All right. So he understands anādimat. He has anādimat, right? That which has no beginning. And param is limitless. Right? And then tat Brahma, there's no there's no tat here though. So I don't know where he gets the tat. No, yeah. I don't know where he gets the tat, but anyway, all right, going on. Srila Prabhupada. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. That this is beginningless, and it is subordinate to me. So now he's understanding, he's breaking it up. So anādi mat-param is, mat-param means I am higher. Mat is like me, higher, me better. Right? So he's understanding that as subordinate to me. Like this Brahman he's talking about is subordinate to Krishna. It is called Brahman, the spirit, and it lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Now he's translating Brahman as spirit, which is interesting, right? And there's definitely a philosophical idea behind this, which is that the supreme person, or the supreme personality, which is Krishna, is the highest, and Brahman is actually under Krishna. So this is kind of fascinating, actually, that there's Brahman, but there's Krishna is higher, right? The Supreme Purusha, Purushottama, the Supreme Person, is higher than Brahman. So this is fascinating, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just pointing it out, right? Is it a correct translation? Let's see what Jeffrey Armstrong, because Jeffrey Armstrong is also in that tradition, I believe. So he says, I will now explain to you that knowledge, which by knowing you will be reestablished in your immortal nature. Now, he also uses immortal, but he says nature. That's okay. Srila Prabhupada said, knowing which you will taste the eternal. It doesn't necessarily eternal, it says immortal. So that might not be the best translation. And he doesn't have taste there. Doesn't have taste and doesn't have eternal. Jeffrey Armstrong has reestablished in your immortal nature. The Brahman is my supreme and ultimate energy, which has no beginning or end, unlike the realm of Prakriti where everything is temporary. So he's adding that part at the end, unlike the realm of Prakriti. That's not in the verse, right? But now he's departing from what Srila Prabhupada said, because he says the Brahman is my supreme and ultimate energy, which has no beginning or end. And that is different than what Srila Prabhupada said. Srila Prabhupada seems to be making Brahman lower than Krishna on the totem pole. Ramanuja. I shall declare that which has to be known. So this is Winthrop Sargent. Nobody. Not right now. Winthrop Sargent had the same thing, has to be known. Knowing which one attains immortality, it is beginningless Brahman, to which I am superior. So again, this is the same as Srila Prabhupada. It is said to be neither being nor non-being. Okay, that's what I have as well. But this idea of that Krishna is superior to the beginningless Brahman is interesting, right? Hey, bud. I'm in the middle of doing a video, so I'm not going to play right now, bud. Eknath Eswaran, let's see what he says. I will tell you of the wisdom that leads to immortality, the beginningless Brahman, which can be called neither being nor non-being. All right, so he has... I will tell you of the wisdom that leads to immortality. Where does he get wisdom? Well, knowledge, jnana can be knowledge or wisdom, right? So he's saying wisdom instead of knowledge. So it's okay, either way. He doesn't have anything in regard to that issue that we just brought up about. He's on the side of that the Brahman is the ultimate reality, right? And that's how most people seem to think of Brahman as the ultimate reality. But I think the Hare Krishna understanding, and Srila Prabhupada is expressing it, is that Krishna is above Brahman, right? Swami Shivananda, I will declare that which has to be known, knowing which one attains to immortality, the beginningless supreme Brahman, called neither being nor non-being. Okay, so that's basically the same as what I had and what others have, and that's more of the, you might say, the not dualistic understanding, right? This is understanding that Brahman is just another way of saying Krishna. Krishna is Brahman. Although, why is, the question would be, why is Krishna talking about Brahman as if Brahman is separate, right? That is a good question. That's a very good question. Why is Krishna talking about Brahman as if it's not what he is? And doesn't he say elsewhere that he is Brahman? I believe he does. We'd have to find that passage, actually. But Swami Nikalananda, I will now describe what ought to be known. So, ought to be known, right? It has to be known. That's Winthrop Sargent and Ramanuja, right? has to be known, or ought to be known, through the knowing of which one attains immortality. It is the supreme Brahman, which is without beginning and is said to be neither being nor non-being. All right. I mean, a good question here too is just the meaning of this. How can Brahman be? It's not being or non-being. Well, what does that mean? It's an open question. It's not sat and it's not asat. It's beyond the two. It's beyond all categories of thought, is maybe how you would understand this, right? You can't conceptualize what it is. You can't understand with a mind that is conditioned to think in terms of opposites. You cannot understand this. Radha Krishnan, I will describe that which is to be known, and by knowing which life eternal is gained. Okay, life eternal for amrita. It is the supreme Brahman who is beginningless and who is said to be neither existent nor non-existent. So that's Winthrop Sargent using the word existent or non-existent, right? All right, but we'll go on. I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. Maybe we'll come back to that. Parama Karuna Devi, I will tell you tell you what is to be known, whose knowledge enables one to taste immortality. Again, the taste is not really in there. My supreme Brahman is the beginningless reality. So now, mat-param Brahma, she's translating as my supreme Brahman. So now that actually solves that issue of why is Krishna talking about this as if it's separate? But it still seems separate when Krishna says my supreme Brahman. Doesn't really, why use the term Brahman? Why not say my supreme being or my supreme self is the beginning reality, and is said that it is neither sat nor asat. I mean, the other question you could ask is why does Krishna keep saying uchyate, meaning it is said? Why doesn't he just say, and I say? Who is it that is saying this, right? Other than Krishna, isn't Krishna, laying it on the line here? Isn't he the one that's telling us what it's all about? Who is it that says it is said? Uchyate. So maybe that's not the best translation for uchyate. We might have to rethink that too. SupremeKnowledge.org has, I shall properly declare him who is worthy of being known, and knowing whom one attains the supreme happiness. That beginningless supreme Brahm is neither called manifest nor unmanifest. Supreme happiness for amrita. It's different, right? Neither manifest nor unmanifest, that's also different, right? Before we had being or not being, non-being, we had existence or non-existence. Now this is bringing manifest or unmanifest. But I will say that there's a word, I believe it's avyakta, which is unmanifest. Vyakta would be manifest. So it doesn't use those words here. So I don't know if manifest would be the best translation. I think being or existence for sat, non-being or non-existence for asat probably would be the best. But maybe, who knows? It's raising more questions than it's answering, right? Sri Purohit Swami, I will speak to thee now of that great truth which man ought to know, again, ought to know, since by its means he will win immortal bliss. So this is translating amrita as immortal bliss, because amrita is also often translated as nectar, or immortal bliss, that which is without beginning, the eternal spirit, translating Brahman as the eternal spirit which dwells in me, mat-param, neither with form nor yet without it. Now this is translating it sat and asat with form or without form. It's interesting, right? It's interesting, and that's how you could understand it's not manifest or unmanifest, right? It's has form and it doesn't have form. So, and I think that's getting maybe closer to the truth of this, is that, everyone's right. Everyone's wrong, everyone's right. If you think God has a form, you're right. And if you think that God doesn't have a form, you're also right. Maybe that solves that age-old conundrum and debate, right? Swami Sri Atmananda, now I should tell you that which is worth knowing and ensures immortality. Worth knowing, not ought to be known or has to be known, but worth knowing. It is the knowledge of the beginningless Supreme Brahman, who is neither manifest nor unmanifest, neither being nor non-being. So he does two translations there. Sat and asat are manifest, unmanifest, being or not being, non-being. Almost everyone has beginningless, right? Without beginning. So that anādi is without beginning, right? But is it anādimat or is it mat-param? It's the question. And how would you translate mat-param if it is anādi mat-param? jñeyaṁ Gita Press, I shall speak to you at length about that which ought to be known, and knowing which one attains supreme bliss. That supreme Brahman, that supreme bliss for amrita, right? That supreme Brahma, who is the Lord of beginningless entities, is said to be neither sat nor asat, being or non-being. Supreme Brahma, now this is not saying Brahman, but Brahma. Brahma is the creator, who is the Lord of beginningless. So this is the creator of beginningless entities. It's all getting confusing, right? It's all getting a little bit much here. Well, we have so much to unpack. But now it's understanding this as, let's go back to the verse for a moment. Supreme Brahman. So anādimat param Brahma. It says Brahma. It doesn't say Brahman, right? So why do people understand this to be Brahman? Is the question. Why not Brahma? And what's the difference? Brahma would be the creator deity, right? There's Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the Trimurti, the trinity of deities. But then there's Brahman, which is beyond the devas, beyond the deities. Brahman is like the ground of being, or the immortal reality. But this translation that we just read of Atmananda of Jayadaya Goyanka, that supreme Brahma, who is the Lord of beginningless entities, seems to suggest that's Brahma the creator, right? All right, we'll go on. Swami Mukundananda, I shall now reveal to you that which ought to be known, and by knowing which one attains immortality. It is the beginningless Brahman, so Brahman versus Brahma, which lies beyond existence and non-existence. So that's Winthrop Sargent and others who had that. Okay, I will reveal to you, I will declare to you, I will tell you, I will speak to you. Someone had, I will speak at length for what is the word? The word is pravakṣhyāmi. I will declare, I will speak, I will tell you, I will reveal to you. All right. B.G. Narasingha has, I shall now explain the object of knowledge, knowing which one attains immortality. It is subordinate to me. So again, a subordinate, this is the same as Srila Prabhupada. It is and one other person, one other translator. It is subordinate to me and is the eternal supreme Brahman that is beyond material cause and effect. And it's very similar to Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Srila Prabhupada, again, had something about material cause and effect too. The spirit lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So they're translating sat and asat, I guess, here as cause and effect. It's interesting that Prabhupada has spirit for Brahman. All right. Finally, we come to a comic relief. Sir Edwin Arnold, who has the cutest and the most poetic translation of them all. Now will I speak of knowledge best to know, that truth which giveth man amrit to drink, the truth of him, the mat-param, the all, the uncreated, not asat, not sat. So he's understanding Parabrahma, right? This is the supreme self, right? Krishna is speaking, not in the first person, he's speaking in the third person. Like, he's talking about himself as, the supreme self, which he is, but not when he's talking to Arjuna. He's not that in that moment, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But let's go back to the original. If you're confused, it's okay. If you've been listening, if you've been trying to follow this. Jñeyaṁ yatat pravakṣhyāmi jñātvāmṛitam aśhnute anādi mat-param Brahma nāsad nāsad uchyate. I shall declare that which has to be known, or which is to be known, knowing which one attains immortality. It is the beginningless supreme Brahman, which is said to be neither existent nor non-existent, or neither being nor non-being. So, different translations, different ways of understanding this. Who has the right one? We'd have to really look at this. To really understand the Gita, I think you really have to be aware of all the different verses, right? You can't just go by one verse. So we'd have to look at the fuller context. But I think that some scholars think that the Bhagavad Gita actually was written by different people. It was actually came together. It was kind of patched together. So if that's the case, then it's understandable why it's hard to understand, right? It's why it's hard to figure out what's going on here, especially when the different names of God is used, like Brahman and Paramatman and Purushottama and Purusha, and which are they all the same thing? Different names for the same thing? Are they all somewhat distinct? Of course, if you look at the nicknames that are given to Arjuna and Krishna have many different names, right? And the same with God here. God has many different names, it seems. Perhaps they're all referring to the same one being, just different names for the same thing. So I'll leave you with that. It's all mystery, but I hope we got a little further in this discussion, and I thank you for tuning in, listening, and I I always enjoy doing this. I'm having fun myself doing this. And this is actually helping to get at, what are the issues with with translating this? How do you, is there a better way to translate this? Is there maybe a more faithful to what it's actually saying, taking into account the text, the context, the subtext, all the different aspects. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and would love to hear your comments if you did listen, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Hari Om Tat Sat.